Hello YouTubers! This video I will investigate matter as projection of 2D hologram and application of quantum physics holographic universe to brains as a principle of hollow brains. Just to remind, in the nature are three physics units that sustains quantity conservation law: mass, energy, and information. Mass is density and volume product. When we go to information, picture changes. Density is the main factor. The same as the book printed in 6 size font and printed in 14 size font will have more pages than 6 size font. The concept of volume in the information measuring unit disappears. For example, we have CD written in red light spectrum, 700 nanometers wavelength. A red dot means 0 and a gap of red dot means 1 bit information. In a digital disc, another factor called no man's land. That is a joke, but CD and vinyl have trenches where information is written and have no man's land where it is not. In the digital disc, for example, Blu-ray, where the blue light wavelength is 2 times smaller, so dot can be 2 times smaller than red light wave, and can be written more in same diameter disc. Blu-ray also has a smaller distance of no man's land, so the density of information even more bigger. But it can be compared to font size, when the letters are smaller, but also gaps between sentences lines are smaller too. Double compaction. Another and most important difference from the holographic principle is all information in CD, vinyl or computer HD memory or flash memory storage is written sequentially. Every memory cell or light burn dot has a predetermined coordinate in X and Y, or in the case of multi-layer memory disk in 3D, X, Y, Z. This storage system can be represented as math matrices. Every 0 and 1 memory cell is well defined in X, Y, Z coordinates in math matrices. Better example of math matrix is cell, where every cell has predetermined address location. That is big downfall of such information gathering and most important processing. Based on neural network and machine learning, i.e. working principle is based on linear algebra, aka math matrices. Linear algebra of solving matrices equation in sequential and parallel equation systems. In computer science, such calculation is called brute force calculation method, was developed in 2000 when computer CPU and nanotechnology allowed to develop very fast clock frequency computers with fast solving capabilities. Human brain's calculation cognitive ability based on Fourier series superposition principle and simultaneous and instantaneous calculation, where information is processed simultaneously without any predetermined pathways and is non-local storage address in brains. An example can be a pattern of concentric rings when throwing many sand pebbles into the water, and every wave interference, aka summation, or waves cancellation creates cognitive ability inside brains. In brain, neurons simultaneously firing electric signals at once. It is the myth that people only use 10% of their brain's capacity. And this myth was many times debunked. The summation of many different waves, electric signals, simultaneously also requires time, but none of the frequencies has priority, where in linear algebra all or matrices computer processors must check path until a result is sufficient, let's say in a range of 95% accuracy, which require thousands and thousands hidden variables and thousands of pathways to get a right answer. The advantage of Fourier series is not more in calculation time compared to matrix method. Fourier series theoretically goes to infinity, and that means it will require infinite time. That is a joke. Infinity also very important, but is non-local. Brain's neurons not specific in particular memory to store all cells are equally important and at the same time not required at all. That sounds like a contradiction, but it's true. And here where a holographic principle comes to picture. With continuation from previous chapter, let's say we have holographic versatile disk and compared to regular disk, CD, DVD. Regular disks have one laser beam that bounces from the track to register into reading device. The holographic disk can have many layers of different surfaces. This example is made very simplified by theoretically surface can have a very different bumpiness or roughness surface area. And depending on laser beam angle, it can give different results compared to one laser beam with one laser beam angle. It means, and theoretically, it can have an infinite surface area. In mathematics exists snowflake with infinite perimeter. I know holographic disk is finite and where its surface is very precise ordered, not random bumps on the track. The main point is that rough surface area describes information capacity, not plain area. As in the poem by William Blake, To See the World in the Grain of Sand. To analogy of brains and machine learning, brains must have infinite pathways when neurons firing electric signals. But we already established that machine and learning linear audio matrices are based on the brutal force of very fast digital electronic CPU processors. As we know, brains are organic, not silicon-based material. Introduction: Niels Bohr atom model, Copenhagen interpretation of quantum mechanics. And I suggest watching a 60 Symbols YouTube video about various interpretations of quantum mechanics, where the survey shows that Copenhagen is most popular with 42%. In the quantum field, working scientist is most compelling to explain microworld particles behavior. The holographic universe is based on David Bohm, which has zero fans. Also is information-based quantum mechanics interpretation with 24% popularity. I will be honest, not familiar with this theory, but it coincides with my theory that the random nature, or by the God, or is the world is created based on mathematics language, where a mass energy information sustains quantity conservation law, and information is integer numbers, is the smallest building blocks of reality. From here I will show you that Niels Bohr theory is one of the best to describe atom as a mathematical particle, but also it has a flaws. First and main flaw is atom orbital model, where electron is spinning around the nucleus. This orbital of atom only and just only works for hydrogen atom. For any other chemical element is not applicable. Yes, I know it was based on heliocentric solar planet motion. Niels Bohr is based on energy levels, and we will prove that at least in atom sphere volume don't exist, or at least is not necessary. Instead of imagining an electron spinning around a nucleus, we imagine that every atom has energy levels without any orbital representation. So energy level means potential, same as Earth gravity. It is familiar concept, but not similar. Potential Earth gravity is based on a continuous integral math concept. Maximum energy value equal to 1 or 100%, but between 1 and 0 potential energy can have any irrational value. In atom, energy can have only discrete integer numbers values, 1, 2, 3, 4, and etc. The energy of photon emitted by hydrogen atom is given by the difference of two hydrogen energy levels, where capital R is Rydberg constant, and only energy levels are variable, where n is energy levels and are based on discrete natural numbers. And that is where the illusion comes. We know that in macro world, higher from the ground object is h represent energy magnitude. In quantum mechanics, higher n means the longer radius r distance from nucleus, but it's not true. The electron is not allowed to occupy any of the spaces in between the orbits. This statement also proves electron quantum jump or quantum leap can happen not just by sequential order, but in between many discrete number energy levels. Let's say from n equals 3 to n equals 1 energy level, and it takes the same time as quantum leap between shortened distance from n equals 3 to n equals 2. All experiments prove that higher energy and low energy absorption or emission electromagnetic waves takes the same time to absorb or emit. None or energy have superiority, and orbit radius distance not necessary at all. I suggest watching my video Bell theorem for light polarization about continuous and discrete physics phenomena in light polarization phenomena case, where I suggest that faster than the speed of light is impossible. Description below. Only this explanation can explain how an electron can leap from a very high energy level to very low energy level with same time period. Space between so-called orbits don't exist. They are mathematical or information structures, not spatial. We can say that electrons' electric field is continuous and solid, but not electron itself. Same Earth gravity potential field fills every continuous space where a big object falls in every continuous distance h. In mathematics, a Fourier series is a periodic function composed of harmonically related sinusoids. A Fourier one-dimensional mass is represented in picture in such expression. In the picture is shown a rectangular wave consisted of 6 different wave summations. To get a full rectangular shape wave, we must add up to infinity. So to get 100% finite area with Fourier series is impossible, but always exist errors. It is true that, but also it is true that atoms consist of 99.9999 of empty space. In this theory, atom is 100% empty space, and electron is a probabilistic math construct. It has no volume, no space, and it was proven by Niels Bohr theory. Only discrete energy levels creates energy transfer. Max Born proved that not just electron, but all nucleus and molecules is wave function. In 1999, in Vienna, team sent a collimated beam of carbon-60 molecules through a slit made of silicon nitride and detected interference pattern. Double slit interference experiment was done to molecules, and wave interference happens to molecules, not just light, electromagnetic wave, or electrons. The duality of wave particle is applicable and to solid molecules. So this infinity will be very important later in discussing brain activity, memory, thinking, and consciousness. In engineering, we must know that the precise area of simple rectangular don't exist. Math area calculus rectangular based on concept of infinity and zero thickness. All holographic Earth universe is based on 2D Fourier series. In the small scale, vibrating strings are one-dimensional Fourier series, but with strings that has no thickness. Rectangular waves just have a rectangular boundary in x, y, z coordinates. Jean-Baptiste Joseph Fourier motivation was to try to explain how heat as temperature transfer from hot to the cold body, and come up with Fourier series named in his honor. For example, consider 2-meter plane. In the shape of a square, the heat distribution after a long period has elapsed is given by such equation. The yellow color is the heated side, and the darker, colder side where the temperature is lower. But it's very important, even mathematical theory in quantum mechanics, information theory, and quantum mechanics all real intimate from mathematics language, or all our perception based on force fields. Most intuitive is gravity field, and second most intuitive and well known is electrostatic force of Coulomb. I know physics books are said that we don't know origin of magnetic and electric field. We know only Coulomb, and gravity field is proportional to inverse square root. But the square root of the inverse is just coordinate in one direction, x and y, and show the magnitude of force. But it does not explain the origin of gravity and electric field. In physics textbooks about the origin of electric and magnetic field, explanation is such: we don't know the source of origin of the field, but we know that it exists in everyday devices, electric motors, radio, permanent magnets, and etc. We know that fields have force magnitude. Explanation based on Descartes' deduction method of reasoning. I see or feel, so it exists. I think, therefore I am. In xy coordinates are shown temperature gradient. Latin word gradient in English language means field space. Volume is 100% or unit 1 empty space, but we can observe forces, gravity force, temperature transfer forces, mass flow fields, and etc. This interactive fields and represents our senses: sight, hearing, taste, touch, smell. 5 senses. Okay, 6 senses if you believe in soul, spirit, and ghost. This video started by showing that all digital-based computer science is matrices math-based method, and Fourier series is continuous analogical-based method of mathematics. Copenhagen interpretation of quantum mechanics, and the word quanta also means discrete. It gives a conclusion and illusion that our world is also digital, discrete-based reality. And here we have 2 theories: Werner Heisenberg matrix mechanics and Schrödinger wave equation, where Q from time real value coordinate from time t. When I try to prove that mass, energy, information, this formula highlights even better. It shows space-time continuum in quantum and classical mechanics by showing measurement units can have both measurement distance, space, and time, seconds. Space-time continuum duality, time is similar to space. Without time, space don't exist, and vice versa. That is amazing. And in all my works in classical old-fashioned mechanics to prove that energy and mass equals information equals to unit 1. Matrix mechanics has one big problem, that electron represented as solid particle point in mathematics matrices coordinate system. So it is simple coordinate in 3D atom space, but it has Euler formula for complex numbers. Q from time is real coordinates, but it also contains imaginary numbers whose interpretation in Cartesian coordinate system is problematic. I don't claim that they are not real. I just claim that complex numbers are some high concepts. Before finishing with Werner Heisenberg theory of matrix mechanics, the solution origin is Heisenberg took as his starting point the classical description of periodic physical system with variables written as Fourier series. So maybe the movie Matrix and holographic principle are right about our reality. Another very strong point to matrix mathematics is it is insanely difficult to understand, is that our consciousness and all material world are based on solid matrix representation. For example, feather clouds. Special clouds formation who looks like birds' feathers, even we know that clouds are complete mass, shapeless mass of water droplets in the air, with some repeating pattern, can be seen from above. But we still recognize clouds as solid shaped figures in space and time. You can be a very big philosopher, but everything that we are aware in our minds, we understand as solid, concrete concept. Feather clouds is not technical, but poetic representation. Abstract thing, same as abstract mathematics, infinity, zero, unit 1, and imaginary number. Is very difficult to grasp, not just for a person who has zero interest in any kind of mathematics, but even for professional mathematicians or physics and chemistry majors. The basis or starting of matrix mechanics is abstract Fourier sinusoidal waves. Schrödinger wave equation, if it was popularity contest, is more popular in the physics community, and the reason is that solution does not have complex numbers. Solution of simplest one-dimensional elementary particle Schrödinger wave psi equation is distributed according to normal distribution function shaped as Bell curvature. By trying to observe charged particle or an atom, the biggest probability to find an observable particle on the x-axis will be here in the middle of the function. The popularity of Schrödinger wave function is much easier to interpret as the location of an observable particle at any time is not requires imaginary numbers, but also gives confusion. For example, elementary particle probability amplitude from x equals 0 till, let's say, distant x very far away. Wave amplitude probability can be interpreted that the far away we go from the coordinate system starting point x equals 0, the fainter signal we observe. Such an example can be quantum tunneling, is the quantum mechanical phenomenon where a wave function can propagate through a potential barrier. This very unlikely phenomena are very popular exploited in movies. Can a person go through a solid matter like a ghost? Theoretically, if all molecules inside the human body will shift away from x0 point instantaneously, so yeah, we can go through a wall like a ghost. But in the human body are average 7 multiplied by 10 and raised by 27 atoms, and they are not instantaneously in one microstate. In such case, we have a sci-fi plot device, teleportation, and probability that all atoms will shift is equal to 1 divided by 10 and raised by 100, and maybe even more. I'm not a big fan of Werner Heisenberg matrices mechanics because it's very difficult to say about application or even philosophy just by using a complex numbers. Schrödinger equation has one advantage: Max-Born equation. Schrödinger wave equation solution based on Max-Born equation. Wave function amplitude intensity squared from distance minus to plus infinity equals to unit 1. This theory has very strong philosophical background. One is quantum mechanics, example quantum tunneling, and other is psychology. Examples: symbol Greek letter psi, same as Schrödinger wave function. Maybe it's just coincidence, but Jungian collective unconsciousness, which shares all humanity independent of their living distance and class structure. In Joseph Campbell mythology, all humans share the same myth. Even at least 100 years, human was not connected, and they have not even interacted with each other, but they all tell the same stories and hold same beliefs about Earth. The good news that both theories have common ground, and it was described by Werner Heisenberg uncertainty principle, which state that we cannot know particle velocity and location at once. We can know velocity but not know exact location, and inverse. We can know the location but not exact velocity. That is generalized rule of to both theories. From Werner Heisenberg principle, we get the conclusion that matter is just condensed waves in form of a solid concrete matrices mathematics reality. But we cannot separate them separately. High velocity, same as frequency of elementary particle, gives non-locality concept, and non-locality gives the non-concrete concept of matter in general. Only Schrödinger wave probability function, but summation of all frequencies by using Fourier series, we get solid reality in form of our 5 senses: sight, touch, taste, hearing, and smell. After all theoretical, now we go directly to the holographic principle. Just one reminder from previous chapters that this theory is based on physicist David Bohm in the field of quantum physics and neuroscientist Carl Pribram, who studies brains. Conclusions and findings in this video is based on the book by author Michael Talbot, Holographic Principle. We need to explain holographic picture based on Fourier series. In a picture, a hologram is produced when a single laser light is split into separate beams. The first beam is bounce of the object to the photograph, in this case an apple, when a second beam is allowed to collide with the reflected light of the first and the resulting interference pattern is recorded on film. In small plate are recorded 3D views of an apple, and that gives the illusion of 3D picture. Another example of 3D photography image is these three images of the same hologram were taken by positioning the camera at the three positions, moving the camera from left to right. Note, the pawn appears on the right side of the king in the left photo, but transitions to the left of the king as you move the viewing position across the hologram, so that you are viewing it from further to the right. This is real parallax, which tells you that the image is truly three-dimensional. Each perspective corresponds to looking through the hologram at a particular point. The image is truly three-dimensional. It gives superpowers, the ability you see to see behind the house corners without looking with your own eyes. But when you want to grab a figure depicted in 3D picture, you understand that photo is just a two-dimensional flat slate. The holographic main advantage is not 3D picture capability. It answers why we see the world as three-dimensional, but the main reason is non-locality, first coined by physicist David Bohm. The idea of non-observable elementary particles also first been coined by Werner Heisenberg in a German language, not anschaulich, non-vivid world. The holographic main power that is based on non-vivid quantum mechanics principle. Example: in small holographic plate image of frequencies, we can cut small section, let's say 95%. We will lose the information of an apple image, but with 5% remaining of the image will still give an apple image. Yes, it will be lower resolution, pixelated and apple, but it will be the same picture. That is biggest advantage of a holographic principle, not 3D image capabilities, which is used in computer science as image compression algorithm. We're talking about matter, elementary particles, electrons, and space-time. That all our 3D world is recorded in the 2D plane, and all information is non-local and based on the Fourier series instantaneous superposition principle. Fourier series have two functions. One is recording and other is reading. Maybe the best example is DVD hard drive or flash memory is a recording storage device, and CPU is for information reading processing device. Fourier series is 2-in-1. It's also information storage device and reading device. All matter based on Fourier series surrounding emits information in form of frequencies, and same time is the reading device. Our matter and 3D surroundings is with Fourier's 2D mathematical projection. Also, our brains read surroundings based on Fourier series. That is very obvious and logical. Fourier series is transformation device for dead surroundings and for all living beings who can sense surroundings by using Fourier series. That is very different from computer science hardware, where is silicon-based rigid body device, a shell, dead shell, and software is programming language inside computer who processes input information. that is strictly separated between hardware and software. Fourier series are both in one, dual nature. The term Fourier transform refers to both the frequency domain representation and mathematical operation that associate the frequency domain representation to a function of space or time. Before human body and brain function, we need to understand how the Fourier series came to practice, and we give a clear understanding of how human eye works. First time holography was discovered by British Hungarian Dennis Garbon scientist. Not directly. He worked with an electron microscope. Just for reminding that electron microscope can zoom more than 100,000 times and higher than basic light-based glass lenses microscopes. Glass lens-based telescopes or microscopes has very big limitation on zooming scale. Plus, they are very sensitive for any imperfection. Electron microscope instead light uses electron beam. It gives amazing zooming abilities, but using usual software in the beginning of electron microscope, images been terrible, quality blurry, pixelated. Dennis Gabor used Fourier analysis to get high quality electron microscope images, and that invention of using Fourier analysis led to holography image discovery. Why is very important for our site, and the reason is that our vision is based on electron microscope construction. From birth till death, any human never saw light directly. All our vision is based on light-sensitive eyes. Yes, are just sensitive devices. Are transformed in brains as electric signals. That is mind-blowing trivia. That is outside of our world. Beautiful bird picture is just electrical signals. Fourier series interpretation. Our brains in skull all the time is in complete darkness. Smart people say think outside the box, brains. How it is possible? Holographic discovery is secondary, more essential human interaction with holographic world where we live in it. Sight and hearing are all holographic. I think all five senses are holographic based. From a book of author Michael Talbot, from the research of neuroscientist Carl Pribram, 98 of cats' optic nerves can be severed without seriously impairing its ability to perform complex visual tasks. Cats would wear big human eyes for very small tiny head. This fact led to how brains store information, memories, and how all cognitive abilities are based on. All brains store memories non-local. Any piece of brain section contains pictures, so non-localization in brains. That is also very interesting fact that we must not always be sure about your memories, because memories are impossible to delete, but memories are fading away. As in picture, small broken holographic slate has very pixelated apple, so some details about apple are lost in the process of time. We have Jeopardy game show with IBM computer Watson. Okay, Watson have voice recognition program and human voice ability. But main Watson power is a search engine. Its ability based on brutal force and search engine sequential force capabilities. Where a human competing against was based on simultaneous superposition of Fourier series and nature of holographic brains. Plus, Watson does not understand Roman numerals of Kings and Rocky movie franchises. The search engine can find and reads Roman numerals as Latin letters. Not Rocky 4, but Rocky IV. Infinity in Fourier series is necessary, or just brain stops when information from some conscious or unconscious becomes aware. Answer is both. Best example, you have Bob Ross landscape painting, and at the same time you have question on Jeopardy about the name of landscape painting. Of course, the Fourier series in Jeopardy will be very vague, because answer time is more important, especially if you compete with artificial intelligence Watson computer. Example, two pictures of citrus slice. We can say that picture in the right is more detailed than in the left. I want to put disclaimer, I don't claim that creative work is more highly important than fast thinking. I just claim that creative work requires more time. The composer can create very fast-paced music, which requires from musician very fast reaction time to perform. But to create fast-paced music melody requires more time than to perform the fast-paced melody. The opposite argument also true. To observe artistic work with many fine details requires more processing Fourier series time. On other spectrum of Fourier series, no pun intended, are fast reaction activity, sports, driving, dance. Acting requires quick thinking and quick body flexibility. In the case of driving and motorsports, low reaction time can cost your life. But fast-paced creative work has no shortcuts. Infinity summation boundaries are very important in Fourier series. In physics, to sustain energy conservation requires to count to infinity. Infinity is not just an abstract concept of mathematics. It has real representation in our perception of life. And that humans have higher consciousness is proven by this picture. In pattern recognition ability, humans are more advanced than simple roosters. The reason for this video is not more the Fourier series or holographic principle, but more about the gyroscopic capability of movement. In humans and birds' case is bipedalism, standing still on two legs. In Michael Talbot book Holographic Universe are many bizarre events connected with holographic and related with the Fourier series, but it lacked other aspect, muscles memory, walk, which is an amazing capability that people forget. Just comparison Boston Dynamics' most advanced bipedal robot with 6-year-old kid. Boston Dynamics is far and far very behind of such capabilities to move in 3D space freely. The secret is that humans and robots included bodies always falling, and we must every microsecond adjust with muscles and body every time. Even muscles in fingers help balance our body in space. That is accomplished when all muscle neurons firing electric signals at once, compared to the sequential calculation in robotics. The best example in nature is flock of starlings. If we compare copper electrotechnical wire to human neurons wire properties, copper wire thousands and thousands of times more efficient and faster than organic best neurons. So how this flock of starlings can navigate in flock without crashing into each other? Their decision must be less than 1 microsecond to change wings position not to crash into each other. And that is without any doubt can be achieved with Fourier series superposition principle, when all muscles and brain neurons fired at once. A quantum supercomputer in real life, any artificial robot or the drone cannot achieve such perfect capabilities. Robots will take all barista jobs from humans, but acrobats, ballerinas still be hard to replace by robots, and computer automation will not replace all jobs, except Walt Disney developed robot stunt acrobats for Spider-Man movies. Again, at least 3 well-paid jobs goes to Silicon Valley. And of course, self-driving trucks, human's dream, plus alcohol reduces reaction 7 times, and computers have no bad habits. We can jump to conclusion that brains are overrated and muscles play a bigger role in humans' life. But one fact is clear. Eyes, ears, nose and mouth are close to brain, inside the head area. This is by using deduction reasoning. In brain's area located the most important human organs, and be honest, they are most important. But they are a bit overrated. From book by author Norman Doidge, Self-Changing Brains, about neuroplasticity. That is very scientific book compared to Michael Talbot's science popularization. Here in this book shown that humans can change their brains. Electrical term is rewire neuron path as he or she wishes. All stereotypes, he is not or she is not musical gifted, or he or she is not mathematical, bad with numbers, is false. And neuroplasticity is also not cheating, as power posing, fake it until you make it. This is real deal, and this book has nothing to do with Fourier series or holographic principle. Only it represents medical cases when people with losing 50% brain mass becomes not just normal, but very highly professional in their study fields. They reshape their brain to match wanted study field where they want to succeed. Interesting fact, brains consumes 20% of all oxygen, but makes only 2% of all human body mass. Chess players must be very thin people. Adult person's brain is mostly 60% fat of total mass of the brains, plus water also is present. That is a ridiculous fact. 20% oxygen just to keep brains alive. We can make joke about that. What is most important in electrics? Answer: good insulation. Fat is very good insulation. Yes, we know fat is good for heat insulation against harsh winters for mammals, but fat is also good electrical insulation. Fat in brain plays electric insulation and protects a glands. Hypothalamus, pituitary gland are in the center of brain, surrounded by 60% of fat, and that is control center of all body. And final, where Fourier series happen? Fourier series comes to where Fourier series comes to consciousness. The answer is pineal gland, or third eye in pseudoscience terms. That is place where a Cartesian theater operator or viewer sits. Name pineal is because pineal gland resembles pine cone shape. Pineal gland is just 0.2 grams. It is the smallest pineal gland of all possible glands. of all 7 pineal glands, and located in brains protected by skull, water barrier, and fat deposit. Plus, in the center of the brain is a thalamus, a controlled center responsible for all locomotion of body. So our brain mass makes any sense that is even opposite. Smaller brains means humans more balanced, more capable. Brain's main role is to defend this important glands, thalamus, and a special pineal gland. This is most interesting of all chapters, criticism of Fourier series and the holographic principle. This chapter connected with Descartes' theater and duality of body and soul. Quote, many years philosopher Daniel Dennett spent debate and argue this idea by holding the opinion that is Descartesian theater. He objects to this thought that is brain somebody processing, editing, and stream consciousness. That something does not exist. Consciousness is the final frontier. Quote from book by J. Ingram, Theater of the Mind. I chose Daniel Dennett interpretation because he is a bona fide atheist, but is my most favorite atheist. He is not village atheist, and I agree. Consciousness is a final frontier. Only consciousness is based on mathematical language, or Descartes' body and soul cannot be separated. To inhale spirit into human doll, or reanimate dead person after clinical death, 19th century dream of Dr. Victor Frankenstein, or even create in laboratory condition one-cell bacteria from non-organic chemical matter is impossible. We can be wrong or biased. Bias is a mathematical term, means systematical error, original flaw, pun on the term original sin. Descartes' theater is not, but also Descartes' theater is not the only theory which study brains. Just one of the popular ones, and the popular it does not mean right. The problem of holographic principle or plot holes occurs from that holographic universe and principle. So matter, atoms, electron, light behavior superposition based on Fourier series, and brain's body final frontier consciousness also based on the same concept of Fourier series. Duality or inverse operation of Fourier transforms. But it may not be true. Example, let's say we have very old first color camera, a new camera, and we make the same photo of the same view. Afterwards, we take an old photo and with the help of very sophisticated software program, Photoshop, and make old color photo to standard of top-notch newest camera quality. That is not real thing. That is an artificial creation. Maybe that is with Fourier series. Maybe Fourier series is just body software that makes our picture better quality, processing, editing, and consciousness streaming delivery to our mind. Higher mammalian creatures have bigger brains and better upgrade on Fourier series software inside brains. But the body is inanimate hardware or something else and nothing to do with holographic principle. The conclusion of this theory suggests that we can create androids in same manner as in movie Blade Runner. The flaw comes to the application of Fourier series in physics and in engineering needs But holographic photography discovered by scientist Denis Gaberov was used to get better quality image in the electronic microscope, and same Fourier series based in crystallography of X-ray and gamma rays. It can be that by using Fourier series we get not real reality of surroundings. So iron atom does not have such cubical shape with 9 nucleus, and all mathematics is based on the pattern recognition. What if we use different software algorithms and chemical structure to be different from Fourier methods? The same can be applied to the brains. Maybe Fourier series is just the brain's most effective algorithm chosen by natural selection. It is not definite fundamental law of nature. It's just most effective from all possible variants. I think in this video chapter, and I believe in general, Fourier series describe that inanimate nature, all non-organic chemistry, and same Fourier series describe soul and spirit of or scientific term conscious beings. But separation in laboratory condition is impossible. Same we can claim about gravity is electrostatic origin, but create anti-gravity condition, cancellation of gravity force inside Earth is impossible. But if android or one-cell organism will be created from non-organic matter, this theory will be disproven. But I think everything is based on mathematics and consciousness, and the Fourier series is the basis of mathematical world. The question arises, where is God broadcasting station of holographic universe is located? We know that radio or TV has a meter broadcasting station, and radio and TV set are receivers. So where God station are located to broadcast this holographic show? My theory is that the pineal gland is antenna where a Fourier series comes to reality. I skipped a bit of chunk of information, or most important, what Fourier series made. Fourier transform of frequency domain, and frequency domain can be transformed to function or solid pattern matrix reality. Best example of Fourier series can be a Babel fish from book by Douglas Adams, Hiker's Guide to Galaxy. The Babel fish is small, yellow, leech-like, and probably the oddest thing in the universe. It feeds on brainwave energy received not from its own carrier, but from those around it. It absorbs all unconscious mental frequencies from this brainwave energy to nourish itself. It then excretes into the minds of its carrier a telepathic matrix formed by combining the conscious thought frequencies with nerve signals picked up from the speech centers of a brain which has supplied them. This fish is pineal gland. Why fictional Babel fish perfect describe Fourier series? Answer: fish feeds on brain waves and conscience. I will add more. Non-local, all possible waves from all senses: eye, hearing, smell, taste, touch, and locomotion. Babel fish is, in sense, is eighth gland. Our locomotion is based also on reading the gravity field, to stay on two legs, learning to walk, what kids to learn before talking. And Babel fish is reference to Tower of Babel, Narrative is an origin myth narrated in Genesis 11, chapter 1, according to a story as united human race in the generation following the great flood, speaking in a single language. I know we want to separate body as hardware, a hard shell, and soul as life itself as a software programming language. But such strict separation of living organisms is technically a meat bag is incorrect. The last frontier of reality is mathematics, and mathematics is a ultimate universal language, building block of everything surround us. All that non-living matter, especially non-organic chemical elements, water, calcium, made from Fourier series, and all living organisms who can sense, observe, and describes also. Arguing who created and engineered Bible fish, who can sense and describe in book Hitchhiker's Guide to Galaxy. It proved of non-existence as a joke. Random nature will not allow such super sophisticated gadget to appear randomly. Also, we must not forget that our dead inanimate surroundings are even more perfectly engineered. Goldilocks of sun, Earth distance from sun, 21% oxygen level, perfect amount of water on Earth, big mountains range heights created for mild climate, iron content on Earth, rarest element in the whole galaxy. That is just few coincidences that allows all living organisms in perfect condition to sustain on Earth. All living organisms are just frequency-sensitive antennas, but instead we dream to recreate Dr. Frankenstein's experiment to reanimate a dead body, forgetting that our surroundings and environment are also amazing. The moon, the sun, rocks, mountains, rivers, oceans, seas, deserts are perfectly engineered if you not destroy them. Artificial intelligence is false promise, as in movie by Stanley Kubrick, Artificial Intelligence after his death, directed by Steven Spielberg. Toys and technological progress is very appealing if we ignore the inanimate surroundings, the environment. The current clockwork universe mechanism. God created perfect balanced Earth on basis of clockwork. People, all organisms multiply without any intervention from God, and have free will to do as they like. Such philosophical views suggest that clockwork mechanism can be disturbed by humans, the paradox of free will. Be careful what you wish. Your wishes can become reality. Okay, this video ends on the unhappy note. But my point is very inhumane. I think nature, in a big sense, environment does not care about human drama. I am not cynical. I not want to win. I wish to succeed in life, but that requires a big sacrifice on nature's behalf. As Simpsons episode, 2 cars in every garage and 3 eyes on every fish. I don't like genetic mutations caused by cars, planes, and electronics and chemical plants. When living organisms goes ugly, it means an inanimate environment has gone ugly too. Even people who work in these industries prospered. I don't want to end video on a sad note. 2 examples of computers and the nature doing Fourier series. First computer processor clock rate in computer's digital calculation done by 0 and 1s, represented as voltage 5 volts 1 and minus 5 volts is 0. Rectangular waves made from regular sinusoids. Sinusoid waves gives continuous flow without any electric circuit interruption. We think digital computers as 1 and 0 as discrete, as switch, technical term toggle mechanism, but it's not true. Signals 1 and 0 is continuous Fourier series in the shape of a rectangular sinusoid wave function. I recommend watching the video Why Build an Entire Computer on the Breadboard by Ben Eater. He explains CPU clock rate by using oscilloscope. We talked about holography started as an electronic microscope project. Oscilloscope is a microscope for wave signals. Waves is the language of computer communication with all hardware devices. He explained that 1 and 0 is not literal switch, toggle. Sine waves is continuous analog signal, same as video or audio magnetic tape. The time between high maximum 5 volts and low minimum minus 5 volt is a gap of 5 nanoseconds. Function rise slope is close to 90 degree, but not quite 100% 90 degree. It has 5 nanosecond time rise delay. See link to this video in the description below. Another example is the Fourier series done by nature. Light. I recommend watch YouTube video Fourier optics used for optic pattern recognition by channel Huygens Optics. See description below. For comparison, the Fourier series done by computers takes 2 seconds. Done Fourier series by light, it takes 0.3 nanoseconds. It is 6 billion times faster than modern high clock rate CPU. Which in my opinion is not true. This video then suggests if the lens that creates fast Fourier transform has been closer to the camera lens, Fourier series summation will be faster. Or another possibility, Fourier series will not happen at all. I suggest watching my video Bell theorem for light polarization, see description below, where I investigate quantum mechanics phenomena of entanglement, faster than speed of light possibility, spooky action over distance of light. I want to prove that light polarization is done instantaneously based on infinity notion. I know my theory suggests that space-time continuum or duality, space and time, are artificial and both are the same units. Particle wave duality of light. Light is solid particle based on Einstein energy equation, and light is wave based on Planck equation. The same duality is to Fourier series. Reality is digital based on discrete numbers 0, 1, 2, 3 and etc. And reality are continuously based on analogous numbers, real numbers, irrational, rational and etc. Can we separate discrete and continuous? In my opinion, no. But at least we now can be sure, 100% sure that our reality is not computer simulation. Computers are very and super very slow compared to dual nature. By doing Fourier series, duality is very tricky and sounds like paradox or even contradiction. It makes very clear sense, but not so much understanding of the nature of such thing exists in first place. Our knowledge about duality is perfect. but wrap one's mind around the duality constant to understanding in all wholeness, it's much harder. Fourier series based on transcendental function. Example, a sine function. Mathematician Leopold Knocker quote, God made all the integer, all else is the work of man. I disagree. I think transcendental numbers are made of integer, discrete numbers that go to infinity, on which basis digital computer operates. The same as Niels Bohr quantum mechanics of electron and elementary particles. Energy levels are made from discrete energy values of individual photon and nothing in between of these values. So it raises the question how light can achieve 6 billion faster calculation with energy conservation law in mind. Energy conservation only can happen if integration is done to infinity. And answer, the random nature is made of digital integer numbers. The nature of God puts physics constant and real analogous numbers into X value. The Planck constant of light, quantum speed of light, Coulomb constant of electrostatics, electron charge constant, Boltzmann constant in the kinetic energy of gases, and many other constants. These constants allow appearing living organisms on Earth. And Holy Trinity is ended with work of man or woman person, the amplitude. Another name is scalar or vector. My name is extrapolation constant. In new video, I will try to prove that amplitude, magnitude value in the front of transcendental function of sine, cosine, and exponent is artificial work of man and represent our real world. It means based on real numbers, and it is observable by all living organisms. That is all, folks. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe.